I recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Acting Director Mulvaney, it is good to see you here today. It's always a pleasure to welcome a former member of this committee to testify, and we miss having you sit amongst us, and I also miss you and will miss you at the baseball practice. Our team's always been better with you on it.
Still hoping to be invited to a couple of practices.
Be nice to me then. All right, you're right when you say that the CFPB is far too powerful with precious little oversight of its activities. Far too long, the Bureau has taken actions which unfairly target businesses, hurt customers, and impose big government policies with far-reaching implications for the financial market. Your leadership as acting director of the CFPB has become a welcome change from that of your predecessor. I'm glad, too, that our friends on the other side of the aisle are finally recognizing you as the rightful acting director. First question. I applaud the important work that this administration has done to roll back some of the unconstitutional and overreaching authority of the Bureau, but I also recognize that more needs to be done. So what can be done to ensure that under any new director or administration, the CFPB cannot reverse course and again enact failed policies that harm American consumers and businesses?
You have to change statute. Keeping the way the statute is written now, in order to prevent that pendulum swinging from the right to the left, from the right to the left with alternating administrations, you have to change the statute. That's why I say that it's the DNA, it's the structure of the Bureau that needs to be fixed. I can fix things the way that y'all want me to fix them, okay, and would upset those folks. And then if a Democrat administrator comes in, they'll fix them the way these folks would like to see it. It would upset you folks, but it wouldn't bring very much constancy or certainty to the markets, including certainty for the consumers. So that's why I say in order to fix it, you have to take the discretion away from the Bureau, and most specifically away from the director, and take back the authority as the legislature of the country. And that's why we've made the four specific recommendations in the quarterly report. Would love to take you up on those things. It's why we support a lot of the work that this committee has done on a bipartisan basis to reform the Bureau. But it needs to change in the law. Otherwise, it'll go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Next question I have for you concerns the Bureau use of discretion in rulemakings. Congress gave the CFPB the authority under Section 1022 of Dodd-Frank to exempt institutions based on size, yet in the past it has not exercised that authority. In fact, I have a bill, the Community Financial Institution Exemption Act, that would strengthen Section 1022 by exempting credit unions and community banks under $50 billion in assets from the CFPB rulemakings, unless the CFPB and other federal regulators have cause to include them. So should the Bureau take better advantage of its authority to exercise 1022 authority in future rulemakings?
And I think we've already indicated an interest in doing that, as I discussed earlier on our notice of what we're going to review at the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, the HMDA rules. The scope and what financial institutions are covered, the size of the financial institutions that we're going to cover is exactly one of the things we want to gather information on and take a look at, and it's pursuant to the authority you just referenced.
Good. Thirdly, since your arrival, you have brought about a starkly different mission and culture at the Bureau than your predecessor. What steps have you taken to right-size the organization, and what bureaucratic hurdles prevent you from hiring, firing, or changing the role of personnel and office structure as needed to fulfill the administration's vision for the CFPB?
Nothing limits almost nothing limits my ability to hire. The only limitation I have on hiring people is the amount of money I'm allowed by law to draw down from the Federal Reserve. There are significant restrictions on my ability to reduce the size of the force, significant restrictions on my ability to reassign people. There's a restriction on where this office can physically be located. So there's a bunch of restrictions on the actual operation of the Bureau itself.
Mr. Chairman, I yield my time back to the chair.